Today on Outside the Box Reviews, we are taking a look at the NECA Terminator Series 3 T-1000 Pescadero Hospital figure. So this was T-1000 number 2 in the Terminator line. It came out at the same time as the other figure I previously reviewed, and this one basically gave us everything the other one didn't. The other one was very put together and just had the different hands and guns and the one metal finger and the little blob on his foot. This one, we get the hook hands, we get the gunshots to the chest, and we get some split open heads. So let's jump in and take a closer look at the figure. So starting off with the head sculpt, it comes with two different ones, and this is my least favorite of the two. This is the kind of fusing back together head sculpt, and I've always just thought it looked a little goofy. It's split right down the middle, but it's actually kind of split in such a way that the entire left side of his face, his left, our right, is completely separately sculpted and just kind of glued back into place on top of the figure, and I just thought that looked very strange. It's probably done so it was easier to paint all the detail on it, but it just comes across as a little weird. His eyes are a little wonky, and it really just kind of distorts the likeness to Robert Patrick enough where it doesn't work for me. The detail on it is the same as the other one, some good wrinkles, some really good paint apps on it. It just looks a little off. You can look inside, we can see the nice silver paint though. It looks very much like the liquid metal from the movie. And then we can pop that head right off and pop on my favorite head, the really split apart one. And this one doesn't look much like Robert Patrick, but it doesn't need to because it is so heavily damaged, you wouldn't be able to recognize him. Totally split apart, he's got like duck lips going on there, a lot of weird wrinkles and angles happening, but still great detail on it, and of course the nice liquid silver insides. This looks really cool to me. This has a very brutal look to it, and there's no big seam, it's all one sculpted piece. Coming down the body, we have the same police uniform we had last time. This one's a little better painted, his badge is better detailed, better coverage with the silver, the nameplate looks good, and then we have the three big shotgun blasts to the chest. These are kind of separate sticking out pieces of the sculpt, just kind of raised areas with that rounded indentation look to it. This is pretty much how they did it in the film. They just stuck these on them because obviously they couldn't burrow into the actor's skin, so this looks really good. Nice paint detail through the body, just slight shading to it, kind of gives it a bluish black look. Coming down the arms, the upper arms are the same as they were, and then the lower arms are the metallic hooks he was using in the elevator sequence and as they left the hospital. And these are really nice looking. It's a great transition where it goes from the sleeve and the paint and the sculpt changes abruptly to be the squared off hook. It just looks great. I really, really dig it. The only thing I could have wished for would be some form of articulation in it where you could go about 90 degrees and have it where the hook is facing downward, like he is when he's chasing them, leaving the hospital and trying to hook onto the car. You can't do that. These are also either going to be facing inward or you could perhaps swap them to be outward facing. But that's about all you're going to get. Now these arms do detach at the elbow, so you could pull that out. And then if you have the Galleria Mall version, you can actually peg those arms right back in here, and it looks like it belongs. So what I've actually had on display for a while is this torso is actually going with my Galleria version, and then the clean torso from the Galleria version has had the hook arms. There's just a little switch up you could do that I really love. Now, however, some of the newer arms seem to have adopted a new peg system that is larger and doesn't actually work as well with these, so you might not actually be able to switch everything from all the T-1000s, which is kind of crappy. We of course have his belt again, the soft rubber piece. He has the holster but no gun, his walkie-talkie, all the good stuff coming around there. The paint on my buckle's a little sloppy. His pants coming down here, and his black shoes, once again with a little blob of silver metal coming off the bottom of his foot there. For articulation, he has a ball joint at the bottom of the neck, so you get a good range there. Pin socket at the shoulder, forward and backward out to the side. You can hinge at the elbow as well as rotate, swivel at the waist, and swivel cut at the foot. So overall, I consider this another great entry in the NECA Terminator 2 line. This does suffer some similar problems with the first version of the T-1000 I reviewed here, the Galleria version. His elbows are a little fragile. The arm that I removed earlier, his right arm, actually does have a busted joint there as well. So that is now glued and fused in place. And I wonder if that is part of the reason why they went with different joints later on in the wave. Maybe this was a common issue. But overall, everything else on him is so cool. I'm not a big fan of that other head, the more put together head, but I love the splatter head on him. And I love the hooks. The hooks are so neat. And as I said before, I really like kind of spreading the T-1000 around and giving this torso to the earlier version with the normal arms. But really, I'm giving the normal arms to this version, but, you know, it's splitting hairs at some point. So I'm going to give this guy a very solid recommend. The durability issues suck, but that's about the only thing that does with this figure. I really like most things about it. Make sure you check me out on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also check me out on Facebook, link below. And until next time, this has been our Outside the Box Reviews. I'll be back.